Get ready for the Summer of Love 2.0. The No Kings rallies have become the latest case study in how the paid radical left protesters manipulates media narratives and enables organized chaos under the guise of peaceful resistance. If you lived through the Summer of Love in 2020 watching cities collapse into lawlessness, you should already know the blueprint. It always starts with a supposedly nonviolent grassroots rally, but ends with Antifa and anarchists in masks, wielding hammers, launching assaults, and torching property. And the media? They'll pretend they're just mostly peaceful. The No Kings weekend protests are being staged by Indivisible and its partner organizations, including American Federation of Teachers, ACLU, Greenpeace, and the Human Rights Campaign. Indivisible, a faux grassroots group that's been posing as a democracy-loving nonprofit since 2016, was created explicitly to resist Donald Trump's presidency. Like so many of these far-left outfits, it's backed by big money from progressive mega donors, including George Soros and his Open Society foundations. Indivisible wants you to think its rallies are just a bunch of passionate Americans showing up for justice. In reality, they're running a sprawling network of interconnected activist groups, many of which are just rebranded arms of the same machine. You'll notice the same messaging, the same signage, the same faces, and yes, the same tactics, showing up at protests, whether the cause is abortion without restrictions, police defunding, gender surgeries for kids, or open borders. It's AstroTurf dressed up in grassroots drag. But Indivisible and like-minded groups don't get their hands dirty. That's what their militant allies are for. While most protesters may not show up intending to start fires or throw projectiles at cops, they will absolutely provide cover for those who do if violence breaks out. That's the strategy. Professional activists, and I mean literal professionals, some on the payroll of activist nonprofits or political action committees, organize these events knowing full well that radical agitators will exploit the crowd. Activists organize a supposedly peaceful protest and fill the streets with emotional, mostly well-intentioned people who bring the media's false narrative of police brutality and racial injustice. Then Antifa and anarchist cells swoop in, masked, armed, and ready for combat. They use the crowds as human shields, assault officers, destroy property, and disappear back into the mass. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to a few of the paid professional leftist agitators.
Do you want to see Israel destroyed?
Yeah.
It's what the nation is talking about, the war with Iran. I went to the big protests in New York City to speak to both sides and all the nuance in between. I will also be exposing the professional protesters that I encounter. Enjoy and welcome back to the Nate Friedman Show.
I noticed there's a trans flag on the library, but this is a protest for Iran and they don't allow gay people in Iran. So can you explain kind of the irony of that?
Do you understand the irony of what the Supreme Court, the question you're asking me, and what the Supreme Court just decided for trans kids today? In our Supreme Court, do you know what decision they made?
Yeah, they're not allowing trans kids anymore. They're not allowing that surgery to happen.
And that's what I'm going to leave it at.
Yeah. Do you believe that we should mutilate children?
I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
So what she's talking about is that the Supreme Court upheld Tennessee's law banning gender-affirming care for minors. They ruled that it doesn't violate the 14th Amendment. Now, it actually didn't have anything to do with the surgeries even, but moving forward, this means that states are allowed to ban puberty blockers and hormone treatments for transgender kids under 18 if they want to. It wasn't actually even putting a federal ban on becoming a transgender minor in this country. They've just let the states decide about puberty blockers. And that's so so-called discrimination, she's saying, is on the same level as Iran executing gay people. That's not speculation either. Iran's top diplomat says that his country executes gay people because of, quote, moral principles. Now, she's out here protesting for Iran in front of a trans flag, and she's holding this sign for one man, and his name is George Soros. Watch this. That sign she's holding goes to a website, answercoalition.org. It stands for Act Now to Stop War and End Racism. They were founded over 20 years ago, and their primary fiscal sponsor is the Progress Unity Fund. The Progress Unity Fund gets their money from the Tides Foundation. Now, guess who gave the Tides Foundation $25.8 million in just 1 year? George Soros. Now, this goes even deeper, but I'll save that for later in the video because this right here is one of the craziest interviews that I've ever done.
Can you tell me what you're doing out here?
Isn't it obvious?
No, tell us.
Protesting.
Protesting what?
Pro-Iran, pro-Palestine,
Yeah.
anti-Israel,
And when you say pro-Iran, are you talking about the government or the people?
both. Definitely the government.
Definitely the government?
Yeah, I mean the people in the government, but yeah, I'm thrilled about the Iranian government.
You were thrilled about it?
Yeah, I mean it's the only country that stands up to Israel.
Yeah. Were you at
Will
the...
hopefully destroy it.
Yeah. Okay.
Iran is the only country that stands up to Israel and will hopefully destroy it. Not exactly a call for peace that you'd expect to hear at a protest like this.
One of the things that like the Iran government, and that's what I've heard from some of the Israel side, they said that they make you wear a hijab and that is like crazy to make the people do. So what is your response to that?
We're going to overthrow the government because of that? I mean, it's obvious bullshit like everything else.
Yeah, no,
I mean, it's bullshit that Israel really, or that they give a about that. I wish the Iranian government didn't do that. And again, I think they have like bigger issues than that. And it's really stupid to piss off the population for no reason. And they've definitely eased up. Like there are protests against Israel now in Iran with women without hijabs that still want to destroy, against Israel, that still want to destroy Israel, and they're not wearing hijabs.
I have not found any credible reports of women without hijabs calling for the destruction of Israel in Iran. There have been many anti-hijab protests that result in many arrests, although, most famously when Mahsa Amini was killed in police custody over wearing an improper hijab. That started multiple protests against the regime, and counter-protests began with people saying death to Israel and death to America, and they were the ones wearing hijabs.
So again, it's bullshit. Like it's like Afghanistan. Like we started the Afghanistan war for women, to get educated. Now we left and we don't give a flying after we destroyed it. So it's usual propaganda because they think ignorant Americans are going to go, yay, women, we care about women, we don't care about, but fortunately most Americans know that bigger issues.
You would say that you do have issues with the Iranian government.
I wish they didn't enforce the hijab. Again, it's not a hijab. It's a headscarf. They wear like the loose, headscarf.
Yeah.
But I don't think women. Like I'm against countries like France that forbid wearing the hijab. I think women should be able to do whatever the hell they want.
So France does allow hijabs. In fact, by the look of how Europe is doing right now, you could argue that it's encouraged. The French Soccer Federation did ban participants in competitions from wearing religious symbols such as hijabs, and the French also don't allow you to wear conspicuous religious symbols in public and secondary schools. Now, both of those bans prompted many protests with women wearing hijabs, so by no means is the hijab completely banned in France.
Iran is funding Hamas and Hezbollah. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like that's a good thing to do?
Of course.
Okay. And why is it a good thing?
Resistance to
Understand. No, I completely get it.
Israeli
Yeah.
crimes.
Yeah,
occupation crimes.
I understand.
Absolutely.
I understand. So they think how could you fund Hamas because Hamas did October 7th? What are your thoughts on that?
Resistance.
Yeah.
Resistance is actually legal. Resistance to illegal criminal occupation is actually legal. Like Israel does not have the right to defend itself against the people it's occupying, but the people it's occupying have the right to resist.
Gaza wasn't even occupied. Israel withdrew in 2005, and according to her, Israel should have let Hamas eliminate as many Jews, Arabs, and Christians living in Israel because Israel doesn't have a right to defend itself. This woman living in America is pro-Hamas, pro-Hezbollah, and according to her pin, she's Jewish. If you ever wondered how in the world there were Jews who supported Hitler, Well, now you're getting to know one of them who would have. The Association of German National Jews was an anti-Zionist and anti-communist movement. They thought that Hitler would rescue them from this horrible movement called Zionism and save them from communism. They just ignored how Hitler wanted them dead, and of course that's what happened. Just like now, Hamas has been clear since its inception that they want to eliminate every Jew on earth, and yet this woman just said that she supports them. She is the biggest chicken for KFC that I have ever encountered. This woman you are listening to right now is also saying that the kidnapping and murder of the Bibas babies counted as resistance.
So the military part, which it was originally started as a military action, and then it ended up being too easy. And yes, after they broke out, some other people followed it, whatever. I'm against, the civilian deaths, although a lot of the civilian deaths were the Hannibal Directive, like Israel killed them. But yeah, so, and the rapes and the child beheadings, that's all bull crap, like that didn't happen. But there were, they killed some civilians. I'm against that. The attack on the military base.
Hold on, I'm confused. You're saying you're against, because I think the number's like 1,200, right?
Again, Israel killed a lot of them,
okay,
yeah.
Right, I understand.
I think it like that was original. I think it got lower.
Okay, but so you are against
the military.
Okay, but you're against the civilian deaths in Israel? You are against it?
I'm against the civilian. Like I'm against the few civilians that Hamas killed. Again, Israel killed.
Do you want to see Israel destroyed?
What?
Do you want to see Israel destroyed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I mean, your pin says you're Jewish, right?
At this point, I do. I used to believe in the one democratic state solution. But okay. So Iran is not like carpet bombing. They're not doing a Gaza and Israel. They're going for military targets. So yes, I want them to destroy bases, the Mossad headquarters, the airfields. I would love for them to assassinate Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, and Smotrich, especially Ben Gvir and Smotrich. I don't care about Netanyahu. I would love for them to do that. Yes.
Okay. And
weaken it to the point where it can be like imploded from within.
Would you say that it's fine if millions of Jews died in that process?
What?
Would you say that it's okay if millions of Jews died in that process to that pursuit?
Well, as long as the Israeli government is using them as hostages. Do you know they're not allowing them to leave? Like Israeli citizens are not. What does that tell you?
Well, she's finally said the quiet part out loud. She is perfectly okay with a genocide if it means taking out two political opponents. A genocide of her own people, by the way. Now, of course, it's evil. That's hard to comprehend, but at least you are hearing it for yourself, and it's not something that you have to guess anymore. As for Israel, quote, not letting their citizens out, yeah, closing the airport because you are being bombed by Iran isn't exactly imprisoning your citizens. It's keeping them safe in the bomb shelters, which are built in Israel and not in Gaza because Israel values human life and Hamas does not. So who's behind these claims? Who's funding this movement that she's a part of? Keep watching as I'm about to tell you.
So last thing you tell me. It's interesting.
I want them to be able to leave, but if the government doesn't allow them to leave, oh well.
So you're Jewish, right?
They empowered that government. Yes, I am.
You're Jewish.
I'm a long-time anti-Zionist.
Okay. Well, so tell me, the common criticism is that there's 7 million Jews in Israel. You are Jewish. People say, what's going to happen to the Jews in Palestine from the river to the sea? What's going to happen to those Jews? So what do you say to the Jews who are pro-Zionist?
Normally, from the river to the sea meant a democratic state with equal rights from the river to the sea, which is what I believe in. Like, I'm anti-Zionist. I'm not for genocide or ethnic cleansing of Jews. I'm for...
But you just said that you were okay if a million Jews died.
Well, if the government decides to use them as human shields, then they need to overthrow the government, I guess. Shouldn't they overthrow the government? Isn't that what Zionists are telling Iranians to do?
You're just saying,
isn't that what they're telling Palestinians to do?
It's a very interesting perspective because you're Jewish and you're saying it's okay that a million Jews die.
I mean, I don't think Iran is interested in carpet bombing Israel.
They've said death to Israel.
They're not carpet bombing Israel. They're targeting actual targets.
Israel has an Iron Dome though, no?
Yeah, and it's not working, obviously. I mean, it's not. It works with homemade, Hamas and Hezbollah rockets, where Hezbollah ones are not homemade, but Iran has some really serious rockets. So, the hypersonic ones, it's not getting at all. It hasn't gotten it's they're hitting the targets.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. What do you do for work?
I don't.
You don't work? Why not?
I don't have to.
So you did well.
I haven't worked since I was 27.
Now, I think she actually is working, and as a professional protester. Here's her protesting without her sunglasses on. She usually does have them on. Here's her saying HP profits from Israel's torture of Palestinian political prisoners. Here's her saying democracy is not for sale. Back again with the Palestine flag, and again with the South African flag. Now, it's not just her, as we know that they work in teams. Look at this blonde woman beside her. I found her at more protests than any other paid protester I've exposed in the past. I found her at close to 50 different protests, all within a couple of years. So who's behind this team of people chanting for Israel's destruction on America's streets? Their name is Samidoun. It's an organization based in Canada, and they are sanctioned by Canada as a terrorist group. In fact, in October of 2024, US and Canada issued joint statements listing Samidoun as a terrorist entity. Canada called them a sham charity who funnels money into the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, which is a Marxist organization that recognizes a one-state solution with no Israel. Germany banned the group after members of Samidoun passed out candy celebrating October 7th. The founder of Samidoun at a rally in Vancouver publicly called Hamas heroic on the 7th and said that Hamas and Hezbollah don't engage in terrorism. If you look at the photos of this woman I interviewed, they almost all come from Samidoun's website. Now, the Tides Foundation and the Tides Center is behind this, and you remember the chief donor of the Tides Foundation, George Soros. However, all you see is that the Alliance for Global Justice is their fiscal sponsor, but if you lift the hood, you see that Soros gives to Tides, Tides gives to AFGJ, which then gives to Samidoun. Soros, along with the New Venture Fund, gave more than $9 million to the AFGJ, which again is the fiscal sponsor of Samidoun. They want it to look complicated so you don't see this, but make no mistake, Soros is funding this. It is also important to note that you can't even donate to the AFGJ with Stripe or PayPal or any normal methods, as all of those companies consider them terrorists. Yet they are still walking the streets of New York City screaming for the downfall of America. Next up, I saw this big argument happening and wanted to know what was going on.
What's going on?
Bro, these guys. So, would anybody like one? No.
What is this about?
It's a picture of Kafia with Bin Laden.
Can you show the camera?
Very good. Yeah?
Okay, what's your, can you?
No. I think you forget what happened.
Can you tell us, sir, can you tell us what he's doing?
He's trying to provoke people by handing out pictures of Khomeini, pictures of Bin Laden.
Yeah.
And I want to see a picture of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Because Donald Trump is a fraud. Don't you get it?
Can you
They're
explain?
killing people with your money.
Yeah, so we want
They're
to...
massacring children with your money.
Who's massacring? Explain to the audience.
I think it's called Israel.
Okay.
It's called the government of Israel. It's not a Jewish, it's not a Christian, it's a country. When a country commits a war crime, you have to blow the whistle. It's a war crime.
No, it's not.
They're killing. If you tell me you're good. Why don't you go back to Israel and fight for what you believe in?
Okay.
So don't stand around. Here, take Khomeini with you.
I don't want that.
Good. You take Bibi and go shove him up here.
You're an angry...
No, I'm not. I'm a
Let him go.
Brooklynite that hates spending my money on your stupidity.
Sir, I want the world to understand. Sir, I want the world to understand your perspective, okay? So, can you explain
Who you work for?
My name is Nate Friedman. I'm an independent journalist.
For who?
I'm a street interviewer. I work for myself.
Oh, you don't work for the New York Times, do
No,
you?
I know. What's
Here we go again with this guy calling me a right-wing troll.
Work for the New York Times, do
No,
you?
I know. What's
Now, I guess he forgot to bring his Soros-printed arrow with him. He's yet again another paid protester. Here is him holding up a sign with this radical left Orthodox Jewish group who I will expose in next week's video, so turn on notifications for that. They are at the front and center of almost all these protests, and it's time for America to know the truth about them. But first, this paid protester is now trying to call me a troll, and he's wearing a vest with a Palestine flag, and as you know, those two things don't blend very well together, because, well, here is him getting arrested at a different protest, and again and again at the front and center of many more protests. And if you recognize him or the woman I interviewed, DM me.